Welcome to Kaywon Action Star. Watch.
The acronym you need to worry about right now is PAIN. Let's not do that.
Okay.
Stay in the building.
Hey! Let go and move back. Whoa! Go!
Terry Richmond was casually biking along when, out of nowhere, a police car rammed into him. As if that wasn't enough, the officer jumped out, aimed a gun at him, and barked orders to stay put. The reason? They thought he had stolen the bike. In no time, Terry was in handcuffs, and his bag was getting searched. Let's check your backpack for any weapons. Officer Marston pulled out a package, acting like it was some major discovery, then shoved Terry into the patrol car. It was. May I look inside? Inside the package, stacks of cash, over $36,000. The cops immediately assumed it was drug money. But in reality, Terry had $10,000 set aside to bail out his brother and planned to use the rest to buy a pickup truck. Currency is illegal. Well, that's a good thing. The police eventually agreed to let him go. But there was a catch. They wanted the cash for themselves. Terry, who had legally gotten the money by selling his share in a restaurant, refused. The officers didn't care. Investigation that this is drug currency. But no. Now, Terry was stuck in a bad situation. If he went to court, he'd get arrested. If he ignored the summons, the cops would just keep the money. After uncuffing him and acting like nothing happened, the officers sent him on his way. Now, you're pretty banged up. When Terry finally made it to court, the cash was nowhere to be found. Just a receipt saying it had been confiscated. That meant his cousin was headed straight to state prison. I was in my water. A lawyer named Summer McBride offered to help. She explained that, legally, the cops could seize cash if they suspected it was tied to drugs. Even crazier, the police chief could claim the whole amount as a contribution. How much money was it again? 36. Terry could fight in court, but hiring a lawyer would cost him double what he had already lost. Terry told Summer that his brother, Michael, had testified against a crime boss before. Howdy's got into some deep shit. If he ended up in state prison, he wouldn't survive. Time was running out, so Terry had to find another $10,000 fast. Everything okay? No, sir. He reached out to an old boss, who promised to transfer the money. With nowhere to go for the night, Terry camped out in the woods. The next morning, he went straight to the police station to file a report. It's me. But before he could say much, an officer named Sim walked off and came back with one of the cops involved. You need to leave, the officer sneered, tossing Terry's ID at him. I'm off the road, having your shit stolen. Then came the threats. If Terry didn't back off, he'd be arrested for making false accusations. The police chief, Sandy Byrne, stepped in and backed his officers, insisting the arrest was legal and that Terry had been treated with respect. Flat an officer of law. Then he hit Terry with another warning. Keep pushing, and criminal charges would come his way. Desperate, Terry offered a deal. If he could at least get $10,000 back, he'd forget about the remaining $26,000. The chief seemed interested and even let Terry see his cousin. But the next day, Terry realized he had been played. The transfer had already happened, and Michael was gone. We pulled up our schedule. Rushing to catch up with the bus, carrying the inmates, Terry cut through the woods and managed to run alongside it, yelling for Michael to try and delay his transfer. Come on, man. Jet you out. Everyone knew who Michael was, and his life was in serious danger. Things got worse. Because Terry had filed a report, the cops raided his former boss's restaurant under the excuse of a drug bust. Dog sniffing for drugs. They seized the restaurant's safe and all the money inside. Now, his boss couldn't help him either. Terry went back to Summer for help, but she was under pressure too. If she got involved, she could lose her job. Still, she secretly started digging and found something suspicious. Mahoney Oakley is dropping $10K on your desk. Michael's bail was set way too high, with a mandatory 90-day delay. She realized this wasn't just about Michael. It was happening to a lot of people. But with the cops watching her, helping Terry was becoming a serious risk. Richmond, Terrence James. Meanwhile, the police chief found out that Terry was a Marine Corps veteran, but he assumed Terry wasn't much of a threat. Heart damn near skipped a beat. That changed when Officer Sim discovered something else. Terry wasn't just a Marine. He was a hand-to-hand combat expert. Byrne, feeling confident he had outmaneuvered Terry, didn't expect what happened next. Well, it still stands. So Terry stormed into the station. quickly disarming the chief and taking control. He even managed to take out a few officers in the process. Move the fuck away, okay. Now in charge, Terry ordered Officer Sim to retrieve his money from the evidence room. Meanwhile, a group of armed locals had gathered outside, ready to storm the building. Their cuff's not yours. Thinking fast, Terry had Sim pretend to arrest him. As I walked outside, she signaled that everything was under control. Once clear, she got her gun back, and Terry hopped on his bike, heading straight for the courthouse. This is yours. At last, he posted Michael's bail. But just as things seemed to settle, a police squad burst into the building. They hit Terry with a taser, knocking him down. When he came to, he was in police custody. The chief, Chief Burns sat beside him in the car, admitting that if he had known who Terry really was, he wouldn't have messed with him. Terry had seen something disturbing earlier, a warehouse full of cash and weapons. Burns explained that the department was underfunded, so they had to find ways to make money. As they pulled up to a hospital, Burns tossed the remaining $26,000 on the ground, unlocked Terry's cuffs, and delivered some bad news. Michael had been attacked in holding and was badly injured. Walk away. Burns then gave Terry a choice: take the money and walk away, or face 30 years in prison. Terry never got to make that choice. Michael died in the hospital before he could even wake up. Devastated, Terry packed up his few belongings from the woods and accepted a ride from Summer. A police car followed close behind. Summer had uncovered more than just Terry's case. It's real. Dozens of people were sitting behind bars for no real reason, held for the full 90-day period to keep bail money rolling in. Why were the cops doing this? At this point, Terry didn't care. He just wanted to get out of town. Just to be safe, he gave Summer his phone number before they parted ways. That night, Summer found out firsthand just how corrupt these cops were. They broke into her house, drugged her, and left a syringe in the sink. Groggy and terrified, she almost called the police, then stopped herself. Instead, she called Terry. Minutes later, he arrived in his newly bought pickup truck and found her slumped in the bathroom, barely holding on. She was in the middle of a custody battle for her kid, and if word got out about what had happened, she could kiss her chances goodbye. The cops knew exactly how to corner her. She had passed. A drug problem, a stupid theft charge for taking her ex-father-in-law's lawnmower, and now, this latest setup. Summer showed up for work only to be blindsided. The court had already been tipped off about her supposed drug relapse from the night before. They wasted no time forcing her to take a drug test. Just like that, she lost her job and her daughter in one brutal blow. Terry was laying low, but Officer Lane was on his tail. When Lane finally caught up and pulled him over, another squad car pulled in, blocking his escape. Terry made up his mind. This would be the last time they tried to corner him. One of the cops planted a gun in his car and tried to use it against him, but the shot only grazed him. Terry wasted no time, hitting the cop with a taser and knocking him out. The others fired at his truck, but he got away without a scratch. Meanwhile, Summer was heartbroken, watching her daughter from a distance when a patrol car pulled up to take her in. Terry, knowing things were spiraling, stashed his truck under a bridge and called Summer. She had a friend in the force who warned her to get out of town immediately. That friend also told her to stay away from Terry, but she ignored the warning and met up with him at his old workplace, a restaurant. There, Mr. Liu, the owner, was busy pulling a bullet out of Terry's shoulder. That's when it hit him. This wasn't just a manhunt. The cops wanted them gone for good, but without making it official. If they had wanted a public takedown, they'd have sent in SWAT. This was about silencing witnesses. Witnesses to whatever Summer had uncovered. Summer reached out to a lawyer she trusted, who didn't say much but hinted they needed to talk to the judge. So they did. The judge laid it all out. This whole mess started when the cops killed an innocent man. The lawsuit nearly bankrupted the city, so Chief Byrne devised a plan to refill the treasury. The city turned a blind eye as the police department kept suspects locked up for 90 days on ridiculous bail amounts. No one could afford it, and their crimes were so minor that they weren't even eligible for a public defender. By the time 90 days were up, the evidence, specifically the body cam footage, was legally erased. That's why Michael was thrown in jail. They framed him, knowing that after 3 months, there would be no record of the truth. That very night, the cops planned to burn down the courthouse vault where they stored evidence. There were way too many hard drives to save everything, but Summer had an idea: the SD card from body cam collected that week. If they could get their hands on them, they'd have proof. Summer rushed to the courthouse to retrieve her own drug test results while Terry waited outside. But before she could get to them, the cops grabbed her and threw her into a car. Terry saw it happen. Without hesitation, he yanked a cop from his cruiser, cuffed him, and used his phone to call Lane. They set a meeting Summer in exchange for the flash drives. At dawn, the cops were ready for a fight, but Terry didn't show. Instead, Officer Marston found a cop tied up in Terry's truck. While they were distracted, Terry broke into the police vault. He outsmarted the chief, hitting him with a non-lethal shotgun blast. Then he ran into Sims, who he immediately figured out had been helping Summer all along. Terry gave Sims the flash drives and suited up in a bulletproof vest. He made it clear, if anything happened to Summer, he'd burn the entire police station down along with their dirty money. But then Sims did something unexpected. She pulled a gun on Terry, saying no one else had to die that night. Instead of fighting, Terry walked outside and tossed a bag of weapons on the ground. Sims handed the SD cards to Lane, who crushed them under his boot. It was a setup. Lane drugged Summer and was about to kill Terry when Marston stepped in. Marston insisted on arresting Terry the right way and getting Summer to the hospital. But before they could, the police chief shot Marston in the leg, leaving him bleeding out. The cops started arguing over whether to call an ambulance. In the chaos, Terry dragged Marston to safety while tossing flashbang grenades to disorient the others. Marston, barely conscious, told Terry to grab footage from squad car's dash cam. It had clear proof of the chief shooting him. Terry filled the parking lot with smoke and started taking down cops one by one. He fought his way through, breaking bones and making sure Lane got special treatment, smashing his face until he was out cold. Then, he sprinted to a police car where Summer was lying unconscious. He gave her the antidote for the drugs in her system and loaded her into Marston's vehicle. They had to get away, but just as they were escaping, one of the cops latched onto the car. Summer, barely awake, kicked him off just in time. Now, the only thing left to do was deliver the footage. But before they could get far, a tire blew out. Sims and the chief coordinated to stop them, but the last second, Sims rammed the chief's car instead. Other officers, seeing an injured cop in their vehicle, let them drive to the hospital without interference. At the hospital entrance, Sims kept her gun trained on the chief while Terry carried Summer inside. He grabbed a fire axe, cracked open the trunk, and pulled out the dashcam footage. The truth was finally in his hands. Now, all they had to do was wait for honest cops to step in and bring down the corrupt ones. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more beautiful recaps like this. Put down your comments below to let me know what you think about the turn of events in this storyline. And also give my video a thumbs up to further motivate me. Share too for others to enjoy. Until my next recap, cheers!